We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sleepcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing right, Jared. How are you doing today?
Man, I've been a little bit better if we had just gotten like a third chaos. You ever go to Chipotle and they just they don't give you quite a full scoop of meat? You know what I'm saying? And you kind of want, and they don't quite give it to you. It's still Chipotle, and it still tastes good, but why didn't you give me the full scoop of chicken? I wanted the full scoop of chicken.
I'm going to consider one of these games even though they didn't lose as a Collegiate Chaos game here, just for how piss poor they played here.
I really think one of Alabama's quarterbacks is going to be a Heisman finalist this year. Which third game would you like to add, Kyle? Of course. No, I don't think so.
That one.
Oh, Alabama. Listen, Alabama lost at whenever they made the schedule. How are you as Alabama going to go play at South Florida? Huh?
When was the last time Ohio State played at a non-Power 5?
I believe we did a home and neutral with Navy where we played in the Ravens Stadium.
That's a neutral site, not at.
But it's near. It's still like in their territory though, right? Like I know you weren't playing. It's awfully. It's like the nearest. I don't think they actually played this game, but I think at one point Ohio State had agreed to play Cincinnati in the Bengals Stadium as a neutral game. Now, I don't think that game actually happened. But
saying this week
Notre Dame isn't Power 5. Yeah, but they are. Like I know that they aren't, but yeah, they are. Wyoming is what Spike said. Is that real, chat? Is that true? Is that the last true away game? I don't believe you. During the Cooper years. No shit. I don't remember that at all.
Wow.
Why would we go to Wyoming? And I don't even mean why would we go to Wyoming to play football? I just mean why would we go to Wyoming? We almost lost. Is that a high altitude game on top of that? Depending upon where in Wyoming plays, that also could have been like a Denver-esque high altitude game, which is just never fun. Add Wyoming to the list of teams not to play. Not really, don't, but
24 to 10 in 97.
By the way, was I right about?
No, that was in Columbus. I see here that game was in Columbus.
Well, I assume it was a home and home. Was it?
No, they've only played once.
There you go, Spikes. Your memory's incorrect. Which is fine. That happens to all of us. Well, am I right about Ohio State playing in Baltimore not terribly long ago against Navy? Or am I suffering from the same Spikes related memory loss issue?
Yeah, there it is at M&T Bank Stadium in 2014.
Yeah. That's about as close as Ohio State has gotten to doing that in recent years. Yes, it was technically a neutral site, but also it's Navy's backyard. Like I said, it's like playing in the it's like you're playing in the Bengals Stadium against Cincinnati and calling it a neutral site. Played Fresno State at their place in the 90s. Guys, as interesting as this conversation is, and I'm gonna no. Kyle says no. Guys, we're done doing live research on the show. We're done doing live research on the show. It's time to move on to Collegiate Chaos. I would say two notable losses this week. As far as Team Chaos is concerned, anyway. I was at it. Were you alive in the 90s? Because you weren't really Tony Gerdeman, to be clear. In case anyone's watching this for the first time.
Back in 90, you're right. Back in 94. I was looking the one that when they played in 2000. You're right. Yep. Maybe that was the one in 94.
Okay, but also I know this individual. This individual is not Tony Gerdeman, and I don't think this person was alive in 1994. They aren't that old. So he's lying to us.
All right. Two losses, Jared.
Yeah. Kansas State, which was a team that I personally didn't believe in, but gosh darn it, they were ranked 16th. Losing to Missouri in what we're going to call Collegiate Chaos for this week is a weak week. For what it's worth, it was a kind of a weak week.
It was.
Tennessee got their doors blown off by Florida. They went down into the swamp. They got stuck. They got eaten. Wasn't even competitive. And by the way, I'm going to be obnoxious this year because I'm literally, all of my calls have been correct so far. All of my preseason calls in regards to Ohio State, in regards to the national scope of college football. And oh, by the way, literally predicted Oregon and UCLA and Cal and Washington joining the Big Ten years before it happened. I am a goddamn savant this year. I'm a god. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's starting to become scary at this point. I told you Tennessee was no damn good. I told you this was one of the absolute weakest Alabama teams that we've seen in the Saban era. I said it. I told you Ohio State would be fine if their offensive line learned to play. And so far, that is absolutely the weakest spot on that team. I don't know what to tell you guys. $20 says Bama still wins the West. The West sucks, which is another thing I predicted. I told you LSU wasn't going to be any damn good. I told you Tennessee wasn't going to be any damn good. Yeah, sure, maybe they'll win the West. Maybe LSU will win the West. No one else is going to challenge them. I told you everyone knows Texas A&M is going to suck. No one's buying the Texas A&M lie anymore. I'm not going to claim that one as a victory. But my God, who else is going to win the SEC West? It's them or LSU, and I don't like LSU either. Kansas State head coach mishandled the clock on its final drive. He absolutely did. Cost them the game in regulation. Very well could have.
Yeah. Yeah, that was it's.
The East isn't any better. Sans Georgia.
Yeah, it's a one team conference now.
I mean, it is this year. There's still a ton of talent down there. I'm not proclaiming the death of the SEC by any means. But this year,
it's definitely down compared to previous years.
This is the weakest SEC. This is the weakest Bama. By the way, Kyle, get this. Shocking. Turns out the same year that this is one of the weakest Bama teams we've seen in a long time happens to also be the same year as one of the weakest SECs we've seen in a long time. It's almost like they've been. It's almost like they've been riding Bama for.
Very, very interesting.
Very interesting.
All right, just gonna mention some scores here, just some interesting ones here. Iowa scoring points, Jared. Iowa scoring 41 points.
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
They beat Western Michigan 41.
I've made a lot of correct predictions this year. If you'd have said, hey, Jared, does Iowa score 41 points in any given game this year? I'd have laughed in your face. So I must be mortal after all.
Duke beats Northwestern in the duel of the nerds, 38-14.
Duke's not bad. Now, does that me saying that as a direct result of this football game? No. Northwestern's given up on the year, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It's one thing when a team faces animosity from the outside in, but animosity is not the correct word.
Another ACC team.
But when those issues come from the inside out, your locker room's busted. Like Northwestern never, they should quit. I've literally never said that a team should just quit, but given everything that's happened within that football program, it's actually probably not a bad idea if they cancel the rest of the season. It's actually probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, there's quite a few
MSU as well. Not necessarily, because the players caused the issue and the coaches also caused the issue at Northwestern. Everyone at Northwestern caused the issue at Northwestern. Michigan State, it's not the players' fault that their coach is who he is. That's not the players' fault. Like, that is something that in theory the players could sort of rally behind, and that sort of be like outward pressure that can force a team to come together. It hasn't proven out to be that case for Michigan State by any means, but Northwestern was screwed from the beginning.
Yeah, so there was a lot of ACC versus Big Ten games in week 3 here. Big Ten did not do too well.
We didn't bring our best teams to the matchups, if we're being honest.
Nah, North Carolina beat Minnesota 31-13.
Drake Mays is a really, really good quarterback.
Syracuse beat Purdue.
I'm not about September Heismans, but if you were about a September Heisman, I think Drake Mays would be probably, I would assume, a pretty good value at this point. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I would.
Syracuse beat Purdue. Where was it? Louisville beats Indiana, and the only win was Rutgers. Yes, Rutgers over Virginia Tech.
Powerhouse.
35-16. Rutgers putting up points.
Powerhouse Rutgers.
And you know who Rutgers gets to play next?
Who?
Michigan.
Okay. Kyle, how did Michigan fare this weekend?
The final score seemed seems like it was a blowout, but it was only a 14-6 game at halftime. But Bowling Green's offense is just bad.
Yeah.
And Michigan ended up scoring 17 in the third quarter to win 31-6.
But it was a bad Michigan performance. 31-6 or not. That was a very, very bad Michigan performance. As it turns out, Kyle, everyone's mortal. Everyone bleeds. No one, and I mean nobody in college football is very good right now. Who's the powerhouse? Is it Georgia? How did Georgia do this weekend, Kyle?
They were losing at halftime. They were down 14-3 to South Carolina.
Spencer Rattler and the Gamecocks. That's who you were losing to. That's who you're losing to, Georgia. Cool.
Yeah, but then Georgia scored their first 2 possessions of the second half and didn't look back, and they had another touchdown in the fourth quarter. Then they won by 10 in that game, 24-14.
Well, okay. So Georgia looks human. Bama looks broken. Tennessee gets walloped. Michigan looks human. Penn State didn't look great against Illinois. They look pretty human.
I mean, they were okay. They were okay.
Yeah, but like people were pretty ready to like anoint Drew Aller, and I'm a Drew Aller fan. I am. I want.
Texas struggled heavily against Wyoming.
Kyle. Texas beat Bama. Surely, Kyle, they are an elite program. How did they do this weekend?
They were only up 10-7 at halftime to Wyoming, and it was tied 10-10 at going into the fourth quarter.
Oh, okay. Sure.
But then
Kyle,
Texas,
hold on. Someone has to be good, right? someone in college football has to be good. Florida State, Kyle. Florida State beat LSU in week 1. Florida State had to have had a great weekend, right?
Not exactly. Not exactly.
What happened? What happened?
Well, they won by 2 to Boston College. Florida State always seems to have that kind of game every year where they lose to North Carolina State or they lose to Boston College. I don't know if they've recently lost to Boston College, but they always seem to have this one game where they just crap the bed. And thankfully this year, Florida State actually still came out with a W still.
I mean, I'm kidding and I'm joking and I'm having a bit of fun. Literally everyone is going, and this was a week in which a lot of teams have really tough opponents next week, and they may have been sleepwalking through some lesser opponents this week. But best 3 teams this week were Washington, OSU, Oregon, and LSU, says Woody. That's a fair assessment, I would say.
No, definitely Washington. Yeah, definitely Washington. Washington looked our favorite former Hoosier threw 473 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Heck, even Notre Dame didn't look all that great through the first half against a pretty bad Central Michigan team. They packed on some points in the fourth quarter, made it look fine. They were never really in danger of losing that much like Michigan and Bowling Green. It's not like they were ever in danger of actually losing that football game, but It didn't look good for a long time. Like everyone bleeds. Like nobody's good right now. I mean, there's a lot of good teams. There's no great teams out there right now.
I can go behind that, Woody. I think the 3 teams have looked. Yeah, I would agree with you. Washington, OSU, and Oregon were the top performers in this week.
He also has LSU. He also says Penix is the September Heisman.
LSU. Yeah, Daniels actually played very well for a change here. So I was surprised to see how well Daniels did there. So definitely keep an eye on LSU and see how well they will do. Who do they got next? They got Arkansas next. Okay.
Everyone's human. Everyone bleeds. Kyle, I think this is a real decent year for the possibility that no one's undefeated at the end of the year.
It could be. It really could be.
I think this is a decent candidate. And by the way, by the end of the year, I'm not including the playoffs or the bowl games. I mean going into the final playoff committee vote. How about BYU beating Arkansas? Yeah. I mean, the vaunted SEC West. When was the last time that happened? I don't know. How often does BYU play Arkansas? The SEC is so bad. I mean, by SEC standards, the SEC is pretty bad this year. Yeah. Ironically, the best conference top to bottom in college football right now is the Pac-12.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the no undefeated teams. When was the last time that happened? I don't know. No undefeated teams. Has that happened in the playoff era? No undefeated teams heading, into the playoffs? I don't think that's happened in the playoff era.
No, there's always been 1 or 2.
2021 because Cincy. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, in 2021 there was no undefeated teams.
No,
2020 was weird.
No, Kyle, once again, I'm talking about going into the playoffs. So like Cincy lost in the playoffs, but I'm talking about like from a playoff committee standpoint. Teams will pick up losses in the playoffs, of course. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about heading into the playoffs.
almost had it in 2019. 2019, there were 3 undefeated teams.
So not in 2019 then.
Not in 2019. The fourth team that.
No, Kyle, the other way around. No one undefeated. Everyone in the playoffs has a loss going into the playoffs.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Not happened. We haven't had that many playoffs. It hasn't happened.
Nope, we might. It did happen once. It happened once. 2017.
No kidding.
Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Alabama all had 1 losses. So did Wisconsin. State had 2 losses.
Interesting. You'd have to go back to 07. Yeah, 07. Oh God, 07. I just had a flashback of what 07 was. 07 was legitimately the craziest year of college football in the modern era. Yeah, it was peak chaos. The national champion that year was Team Chaos. That was the year that West Virginia almost made it to the BCS championship game. Sucky title game. Yeah, because Ohio State had no business being in that title game. They weren't nearly good enough to be in that title game, but literally everyone just lost in front of them. USF was ranked number 2 at one point. Yeah, West Virginia almost went to the playoff or into the BCS title game. Yeah, 07 was peak Team Chaos. There
was one team undefeated in 07.
Oh, was LSU undefeated in 07?
Nope.
Or was that Florida that year? Was that Florida that year?
Nope.
No?
That was it. No, it was LSU. It was LSU and Ohio State in that game.
Yeah, I said LSU.
Keep going west. Keep going west. Keep going west.
Oh.
There you go.
Hawaii. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. No one cares about Hawaii. Hawaii doesn't care about. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. They're having hard times there right now.
Right. Anything else?
Not end well. Yeah, they got spiked in whatever bowl game they went to that year, didn't they?
I believe so. Anything else, Jared? Anything else you want to talk about this last weekend's game? I mentioned before there was no rank on rank.
Man, yeah, no rank on ranks. No rank on ranks. You'd think you'd get more than 2 chaos games. Of course, I think there was how many teams were like I know USC didn't play. Did Oregon play? I feel like there was also a decent number of teams that took this week off.
Yeah, no, Oregon played. Oregon dominated in their game. It was USC didn't play. All right, looking to this week here, Jared. I know we're going to cover some of these games, but looking here, I mentioned Rutgers and Michigan. I'm sure Michigan should take care of business, but Rutgers beat them before.
You know what? I'm getting on the boat. Or wait a minute, it's New Jersey. I'm getting on the train.
There you go.
That one was
Florida
for you,
State and
Spikes.
Clemson. Florida State and Clemson should be an interesting game. We'll see. Oklahoma and Cincinnati. I think Oklahoma. I don't know. Oklahoma hasn't played all that well. That might be an interesting game.
Kyle, Cincinnati lost this weekend.
I know they did.
We could have included them in the Team Chaos, except they weren't ranked.
Oklahoma will be playing in Nippert Stadium. That's just weird.
By the way, I think that's a straight up FU from the Big 12. It's just like, oh, you're leaving. Well, the 1 year you're in the conference with Cincinnati, we're going to make you play at Nippert.
After the second 3:30 games, 19 Colorado versus 10 Oregon. I think Oregon should be able to handle, which we didn't even talk about the Colorado and Colorado State game either.
Well, and they're Colorado's not going to have Travis Hunter for that game.
Nope. No.
He took a late cheap shot. I know Colorado is one of the most divisive teams we've had in college football for a long time. People tend to either absolutely adore what's happening in Colorado right now or absolutely hate what's happening in Colorado right now. I would like to be the one podcast on YouTube, the one college football podcast on YouTube that doesn't spend a lot of time talking about it.
It's fine.
That's how I feel about that situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great comeback by Colorado.
I don't understand why people hate on Deion.
It was an interesting game.
Probably because he cut his entire roster. He took scholarships away from dozens of college football players in order to rebuild a roster. Forcing players to go into the transfer portal. So if you want to know why people hate on Deion, it's because of the completely amoral way he managed his roster in his first year at Colorado. That's the short answer. I mean, he's just making the best team he can. Cool. If you had your scholarship that you worked years to achieve taken from you, would you just say, well, he's just trying to make the best roster he can? If your scholarship had been stolen from you, would you just be like, oh, he's just trying to make a good football team? If you're good enough, wouldn't have taken it. That's bullshit. This doesn't matter. You were given a scholarship. You earned the scholarship.
So going back to the 3:30 games, Jared, mentioned Colorado and Oregon are playing at 3:30. Rank UCLA, rank Utah playing as well. Rank Ole Miss and rank Alabama are playing at 3:30 as well. There's some really, really good games happening at 3:30 this weekend. So there's 3 rank on ranks right there.
Bulldoggy says if he had Marvin Harrison Jr. on the roster, he wouldn't have cut him. If you don't understand why that's the dumbest possible argument, I don't know what to tell you. You're saying that he would have kept Marvin Harrison Jr. because Marvin Harrison Jr. was useful to him. That's what makes him an asshole. Do you understand what I'm saying? He got rid of players who weren't immediately useful to him.
At 7 o'clock,
that makes him an asshole. That makes him a completely self-serving, selfish asshole. That he would treat a bunch of college football players who aren't earning a salary, who had earned a scholarship, and he was treating them like dirt. You're either useful to me or you are not. It's not how you treat young men. And then he turns around and he talks about how much he loves his player and he's there to love his players and love. Where was the love for the dudes whose scholarships he stole? You can't play the love card and be the most brutal roster manager we have ever seen in college football ever. We used to get mad when Nick Saban would oversign and the SEC would oversign, which would include managing out 2 or 3, 4 players a year. He did that times 20 in 1 year. So if you've ever been upset about oversigning and then going, oh, what did Deion do wrong? He did 20 years worth of oversigning in 1 year. That's why people hate Deion. Win at all cost mentality. That makes you an asshole. If you have a win at all cost mentality, you're an asshole because you're dealing with human beings. So yes, if he has a win at all cost mentality, that by definition makes him an asshole because you're more worried about winning now than you are about the futures and lives of the young people whose job it is for you to take care of. This is why Deion sucks. And by the way, I hope Colorado does fine because the players on that team aren't Deion Sanders. And I hope that the players on that team, for their own sake, have great futures and win football games. I want nothing for the best for the players currently on that team. They did nothing wrong. But if you're like, I don't understand why people don't like Deion. He's an asshole. He's managing a roster of amateurs with brutality. And then anytime he gets in front of a camera, all he can talk about is how much he loves his players. He's a phony. And again, if you've ever been mad about oversigning, he did 20 years of oversigning in 1 year. So if you ever wonder why people hate on Deion, that's why. He talks about loving his players while simultaneously cutting all of them because they weren't immediately useful to him. Yes, Kyle, I'm sorry. You can proceed.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
We were talking about how we weren't going to talk about Colorado.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was mentioning games of where we had rank-on-rank opponents in week 4 here.
Yes.
Where there's 3 in the 3:30 slot. And then if I go to the evening slots here, we have Oregon State, Washington State. There's a 4th one. Obviously, Ohio State, Notre Dame. There's 5th. Iowa and Penn State is a 6th one as well. So yeah, 6 rank-on-rank opponents in week 4 here.
Cool. It's a drastic and welcome departure from this past year. And whenever people are like, Jared, are you really for all of the conference consolidation? And are you really for there only maybe, the way I've been predicting for years now that we're on a path to having 2 power conferences? Oh man, but what about this and what about that? Are you really for that? I am. Why? Because of the week of football we just had. Wouldn't it be rad if teams only played teams that they belong on the same field with? And that never will happen 100% because there's still shitty teams in the Big Ten and there's still shitty teams in the SEC. And, it's never going to be like the NFL where every team is roughly equal. But it's this past week of football is why I look forward to the day in which it's just the Big Ten and just the SEC. Like, let's get some good football games, guys. Let's get some good football games.
Yep. All right, I think that's it, Jared. I think that'll be wrap it up for our Collegiate Chaos episode here. Got anything else before we wrap it up?
Another thing about Deion. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm good. Yeah, looking forward to next week. This week was a snoozer, but next week should be great or terrible, depending upon what happens with Ohio State. But it should be entertaining regardless. Kyle, you want to do a sneak peek? What's your confidence? What's your confidence score on Ohio State versus Notre Dame right now?
Ohio State, as we're talking, is a 3.5 point favorite here.
No, I'm not asking Vegas. I'm asking you.
I was getting there. All
right. I'm combative today.
I take the points and then some.
Ooh. That's what I like to hear, Kyle. That's what, I don't know if I share that. I'm still just so cautious. I don't even want to say, here's the good thing. I would have said a week or 2 weeks ago, I'm still so pessimistic about the offensive line.
Yeah, I'd still worry about it. Yes.
Right now, I would say I'm cautious about the offensive line, which is an improvement. Is that I've upgraded from pessimistic to cautious with the offensive line. That's the good news I offer you today. That's the good news. The bad news is that cautious is still not a compliment. I feel great about literally every other position group on the team right now. I feel great about every other position group on the team right now. I know a lot of people are like, is the defensive line living up to expectations? It's a great question. We're going to continue to monitor that, but they're still very fucking good. They should be good. They probably should be playing better, but they're still really, really good. I know Western Kentucky sucks, but the run blocking looked much improved to me. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly it. Yes, that sums it up. All right, Kyle, that's it. That's the end of the show. Come join the Discord server where we have our own economy going. Kyle, we're going to become like a nation or maybe a cult. I haven't decided yet. In our own little Discord server, we have an economy going. We're going to have a store in there soon. We have many casinos because, like, listen, if you're going to build a city, what's our GDP? I'll get back to you on that. I can actually answer that question, although Jug would be able to answer it better. Jug's our bot mod. He'd actually probably be able to give you a really good answer on that. Like any good civilization, we have a bar and a casino. And I feel like as long as you start there, you're on your way. So if you want to get in on the ground floor of our little society we have going, we have a currency, we have a bar, and we have a casino. Foundational pieces in place. Exactly. Do you know what's next, Spikes? Do you know what the next thing is? You know what the next thing is. In an economy I'm building from scratch, you know what the next thing is. I'm going to let him say it. Trains! You're goddamn right, trains. He wants our real money. I mean, Patreon.thesloopcast.com. You do earn. I don't know if all of you know this or not, but all of you in here, because you're watching the show live, you're all patrons. You earn sloop coins faster because you're patrons. Did you know that? You earn the sloop coins by talking and enjoying the Discord server. But there are bonus structures in place to earn more. And you do earn sloop coins faster as patrons. Pikachu surprise face. All right. That's the end of the show. Kyle, do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
Real quick here, Jared. Just tell me if you take the points or not here. So Ohio State currently is a 3.5 point favorite over Notre Dame.
I would, yeah, I'm going to take that. I will never pass up Ohio. If Ohio State is only favored by, if Ohio State's favored by less than a touchdown, I'm going to take that bet 100% of the time.
Penn State is a 10.5 point favorite.
Remind me who they're playing again.
Penn State. Ohio State, Penn State.
Ohio State
is a 10.5 point favorite.
I thought we were just talking about this week. No. I would 100% take that. I like Penn State this year, but if they think this is the year that they topple Ohio State, they're wrong.
Michigan State is a 24.5 point.
Who's Ohio State playing the week before and the week after?
I will have to
because it's just like Doggy says Minnesota. Because it's just like does Ohio State
in Minnesota.
Rutgers in Minnesota. Both of those teams are better than Michigan State right now. I'm going to take the points. I'm not going to take the points. I'm going to take Ohio State minus the points. The only reason I even hesitate is because I don't know if Ohio State wants to score that much.
The last one is the game against Michigan, where Ohio State is a 1.5 point underdog.
I'm taking that 100% of the time. If Ohio State's an underdog, if Ohio State is minus 6.5 or worse, I am taking Ohio State 100% of the time. 100% of the time. If Ohio State isn't favored by 7.5 or more, I am taking that 100% of the time.
Just wanted your quick thoughts on that, but that's it. That's all I got.
That was fun. What's is the Rutgers number out?
Of Rutgers and Michigan?
Ohio State.
Oh, I have to look it up.
You honest to God think Bama would be a 14 point favorite against any major program right now, against any playoff caliber team, do you really think Bama would be a double-digit favorite against any of a playoff caliber team right now? You're high. They have 3 bad quarterbacks and 0 good quarterbacks. And they don't even have a Bama offensive line. Their offense is shit right now. I used to say Bama is bad by Bama standards. No, their offense at least is just bad. Not bad by Bama standards. Bama's offense, at least, their defense is still stacked, but their offense is just bad. They are bad by the standards of any team that would hope to make the playoffs. There is a bad offense by the standards of not Bama, but just by any top 15, 20 teams. Any of the top 15 or 20 teams. It's a bad offense. They have no running backs. Their offensive line looks like shit. They have no quarterbacks. I don't even know what their wide receivers look like because their quarterbacks can't get the damn ball to the wide receivers for me to know what their wide receivers look like. Bama is shit right now. It's not to say they can't get better. It's still Nick Saban. It's still Alabama. Maybe they're a lot better by the end of the year. Maybe they figure it out. Unless a quarterback, unless they find out that Tua Tagovailoa had an extra year of eligibility that everyone forgot about, I don't see it happening. Bama struggled against USF, who Western Kentucky destroyed. Everyone's like, Western Kentucky's not that good. Guess what? Western Kentucky destroyed South Florida, the same team that Bama was only able to score 3 first half points against. So tell me again, it was just Western Kentucky. Transitive property. Yeah, I mean, the transitive property never works. But my point remains the same. Kyle, are you still looking something up or can I end the episode? I've been vamping because I thought you were looking something up.
End the episode.
I feel like we talked about something and then you were looking for the answer. So I've just been vamping while you were, I thought, looking for the answer to a question that I forgot I asked.
No, you. Nope, I'm waiting for you to end the episode here.
Okay, that's the end of the episode. The end of the episode, the music at the end of the episode will be brought to you by the New Bomb Turks. The New Bomb Turks are one of my favorite punk bands from Ohio ever. They're actually probably just one of my favorite punk bands ever, regardless of where they're from. But yeah, I love the New Bomb Turks. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beers, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, the New Bomb Turks.